Well, welcome to Psych 9A. Here we are, winter quarter 2014. My name is Mike Desmura, and I'm your instructor for the next 10 weeks or so. This is also a course in psychology and social behavior, 11A. It's cross-listed as 11A. So not only do we have a number of psychology people in this room, we have a number of psychology and social behavior people in this room, and welcome to you. I would like to mention right off the bat, before I forget, that there is a new related major, as yet very small because it just started this year, called Cognitive Sciences. And we now offer a Bachelor of Science degree in Cognitive Sciences. So if you are of the scientific bent and you are interested in material of this sort, you might want to consider this new major. But at the moment, this course is a Psych and a PSB course. You can see our course code numbers, if you don't know them already. And immediately below that, importantly, we've got the EEE website. So let me pull up our EEE website, webpage right now. Where did that go? Nope. There it is. So everybody's probably very familiar with these. Even freshmen, because freshmen have been here for one quarter already, so you know about the online environment. On this webpage, you can find a large number of things, including the document that we are looking at, the syllabus. So if you haven't already come to this web page and found the syllabus, well, now might be a good time to do so if you've got some sort of electronic device in front of you. And you'll find the syllabus. If you haven't done it yet and you're not doing it now, well, please do it later. It's probably the most important thing from the administrative point of view going on in this course, that piece of white paper with all the rules and regulations. In any event, that's our syllabus. Let me ask a question. How many people here regularly bring something like a smartphone or a laptop or something with a computer chip to class? Well, that's actually a fair number. So how many people just sort of come with themselves? It's perfectly okay to raise your hand if you just come with yourself. That's how I went to college classes. Okay, just checking. So it seems as though a lot of people really have a lot of computing equipment out there, which is interesting. Everybody's wondering when a class like this is finally going to go sort of more electronic, and you know, all the quizzes will be on the iPads and stuff like that. So we need to know, do the students actually have the smartphones and the pads and things like that? By all reports, it's not 100%. It's more like maybe 80 or 90%. Which is not quite there, but it's getting close. Anyway, that's a digression. Let me go back to our syllabus. Our syllabus. Oh, well, you are probably familiar with the fact that we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning, what can I say about that? It wasn't my first choice, and it probably isn't yours either. Although there are always a few exceptions, people who are morning people. It turns out when you get older, you may have some kids, and you're going to start waking up early whether you like it or not because they've got to go to school. So you'll become a morning person the older you get, almost certainly. But for right now, though, 8 o'clock is like death. I mean, when I was in college, I didn't really wake up till like noon most of the time, and that's just the way it was. I was good my freshman year, but then I sort of rotted away. Fortunately, this lecture is being recorded in two ways. So I started this program called Camtasia right before I turned on the microphone. And effectively what Camtasia is going to do for us is provide a recording of whatever is being displayed right here on the screen, as well as a recording of my voice. And that will be made available as a MP4, video file. The second thing is we are very pleased to say that we are being professionally filmed as I speak. And these films will be made available several days after the actual lecture. So, for example, I believe latest sometime next week, you'll be able to see what we're doing right now. So if you miss one of our 8 o'clock classes, do not despair. You can always watch it at 8 p.m. in the evening on the internet. So 8 o'clock, definitely painful. If you are going to receive credit for this course, then you've got to be enrolled not only in lecture, but also discussion. And we have a whole bunch of discussion sections shown here. And they've got their course code numbers for the Psych people, course code numbers for the PSB people. And you've got to be enrolled in one discussion section. Now, does that mean that you've got to attend your discussion section? No, you don't. So attendance is not mandatory, number one. Number two, let's say the only slot you could find for a discussion section was like Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, how many people really want to go to discussion Friday at 3 in the afternoon? I would say a modest number at best. So it's perfectly possible for somebody who is in Friday at 3 in the afternoon to show up on Wednesday at 1, if that is more convenient. Okay, so you can go to any discussion section you want, if you want to go. Now, it turns out that the teaching assistants, whom I will introduce shortly, are going to be putting in a lot of effort to make entertaining and informative discussion sections for you. So I highly recommend that you attend them, particularly if there are questions about the lecture material that you'd like to have clarified, that you'd like to have answered. So please do attend the discussion sections, but if you miss one, it's no big thing. If you go to some alternate discussion section, fine, no problem. Okay, text. Well, it's this book, 8th edition of Gleitman. It's really expensive. So, can you get it used? Well, maybe, because it's been in use now for, maybe 5 years. So maybe you can get it used. Can you rent it? Maybe. If you go to the right place, you can rent it. Try not to pay for the full price of this book unless you're really certain that you like this kind of thing a lot, because that's an expensive book. And the book is fine. It's one of the best intro psych books out there. So you're making a good investment when you get this book, but try not to pay top dollar for it. That's my advice. Do you need anything else beyond that book? Do you need the study guide? Do you need the internet this? Do you need the this and that? No, you don't. The only thing you need is the book. Read the textbook, yes. Do the rest of it? Well, if you have a lot of extra time, you can buy all that other stuff they have in the bookstore, but I do not require it. Who am I? Mike Desmura. My office is in the new building right over this way. It's sort of an orange building, and it has 5 stories. It's the Social Behavioral Sciences Gateway building. The Department of Cognitive Sciences has its offices on the 2nd floor of that building, and I'm in office 2332. There's my email. There's my office. My office hours are on Thursday at 2 o'clock. So if you can make Thursday at 2 o'clock, well, you'll find me in my office, happy to talk to you about Psych 9A and related matters. Time now to introduce our teaching assistants. We have 4 of them. They are going to be helping us with all aspects of this course, helping you with the material. And here is Irina. Could you stand up and introduce yourself real quickly? There, thank you. Now we have, here's Mark. Hey, there's Mark. Now we have Daniel K.
Hello.
We have 2 Daniels. And here's Daniel S.
Hello.
And they're all graduate students studying cognitive sciences and cognitive neuroscience and things like that. So they'll be very well informed and prepared for just this class, because we're going to be going over a lot of that kind of material in Psych 9A. And I haven't really talked about what it is we're going to do in this class yet. I'm going over all the rules, so be patient with me. Okay, speaking of rules, okay. To receive credit for this course, you must be enrolled in both lecture and discussion. And if you're going to discussion this week, you're making an error because there are no discussions this week. Basically, you discuss material that's been presented in lecture, and there is no real substantive lecture today. All we're doing is going over administrative stuff. You'll see that on Thursday, what I'm going to do is talk about my research a little bit. And the course is really going to start up next week on Tuesday. So the discussion sections are also starting up next week on Tuesday. Now let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Psychology majors must be registered under Psych 9A. PSB majors must be registered under Psych 11A. And you probably know that already. I have a question. How many Psych majors are there? Raise it high, be proud. I'm a Psych major, yeah. Oh, I'd say that's a fair number. Good. How many people are PSB majors? Oh, wow, there's a lot of PSB majors. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around the campus because I don't think we had everybody's hands raised here. Let's start with that direction. Now if we were to walk in that direction, we would come to which school? Engineering? How many engineering school people? Nice. Okay, we then go to computer science. Computer science? Hey, very good, very good. Now we're walking a little farther, we come to the math and physical sciences folks. Very good, very good. Now let's see, we're now in biosci. Wow, a lot of biosci people. So you're all biosci majors? Is that what's happening here? Wow, very nice to see you. Okay, we continue humanities. Good, good. And what about finally School of the Arts? Good, good. So we have just about all the schools represented now. It just dawned on me, is it possible that we have School of Education people here? School of Education? Ah, good, I'm glad. Okay, good. The School of Education is a fairly recent vintage, so I'm glad I actually remembered to ask. Are there any other schools that I've forgotten, like School of Nursing or Medicine?
Social ecology in general.
Not PSB. Very good. So what about School of Social Ecology? Are you CLS?
No, urban studies.
You're urban studies, okay. How many people are not PSB but still a member of social ecology? What about people in social sciences but not psych majors? There's a fair number of you. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so did I get everybody? Undeclared, undecided. Oh my gosh, look at all. Oh, here's a question. How many freshmen are there? Wow. This course started in 1994. It was originally a psych course, and it was offered only to freshmen. So it's sort of nice to see all you freshmen here, because that's the way this course started, specifically designed for you. How many people are sophomores then? There's a lot of sophomores. Oh, what about juniors? And of you juniors, how many are coming from a community or other local college? So that's a fair number. So people transferring in their junior year, we've got some, good to see. Seniors, wow, still some seniors. Well, if you seniors think that this is pitched a little bit to freshmen, you're correct. I am pitching it to freshmen, so bear with us. Well, there must be people from University Extension. Nobody from University Extension. Okay. Did I capture everybody? Well, nobody's objecting, so let's move on. Okay, so psychology majors must be registered, blah, blah, blah. Adds and drops. Okay, so this adds and drops thing is a little bit inaccurate. So what I've learned is that all of the people who are going to drop this course must do so by the end of the second week. And by the end of the second week, all these people have dropped is the theory, and that makes extra space for people who are still on the wait list. And apparently there are people on the wait list. And that means in the third week, I issue all of these little numbers to these people on the wait list and who want to add the course. and you take that number and you enroll in the course during the third week of class. That is the theory as to how this all works. Now, this sounds fine to me, except for the people who want to add the class. They're sort of like 2 weeks of stress and tension. Can I actually add it? Well, in past years, we've done this, and yes, everybody who's wanted to add the course can go ahead and add it. And we're going to try to do it in this recommended way, recommended by the administration. Namely, we will wait for people to drop by the end of the second week, and then in the third week, I will give anybody who wants to add the special code that will let them add. So please be patient, all you people who want to add. How many people want to add? That's a fair number. So if you can be patient for a couple weeks, you will get your course codes. On our meeting Tuesday of the third week, right at the end, we will write down all the little numbers. So be patient. 2 weeks from now, you'll get your adding. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, grading. This course is graded in a fairly lenient fashion, speaking relatively. And I say that because, well, there's a fair number of A's and B's and higher letter grades that I give out when I teach it. So that's how I know it's graded leniently. There's an actual, what, you have a question?
He has a question.
Question. You. Oh.
In the meantime, how should we get any information that we can, because we don't have access to the course website.
Well, wait. The course website, to my understanding, is open to anybody with a UCINet ID, and that means, so I'm M. Desmira at uci.edu, so I sign in as M. Desmira at uci.edu, and boom, I'll get on that website. Do you know how to get to EEE websites? Can I show people? Let me show you all. This is an important thing. All this online stuff is pretty easily available. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go home. And so now, if I wanted to go to our course website, what I would probably do is go UCI.edu, and that's the Electronic Educational Environment website. And you can see it's really fast today, not. Why is it so slow today? Well, it's the first day of class, really. Okay, so that's the EEE website. That's what you need to do first. The second thing you do is you go to class websites. Do you see this, class websites? Okay, I'm going to go to class websites, and then they say, you're not logged in. Oh, well, maybe I need to log in. Where do I log in? Way up here. So I'm going to log in, and I'm going to type in my M. Desmira, and I'm going to type in my password, and I'm going to log in. Now it says, oh, well, see, this is different. You would get something different. Shoot, class websites. Okay. This is what you would get. This is a listing of all the departments, including psychology/cognitive sciences, and that's got to be around here somewhere. There it is. Right underneath it is psychology and social behavior. You can go there too, and if you were to click on Psych 11A, you would find the same website as clicking on Psych 9A. So let's see, where is Psych 9A? Desmira website. There it is. So hopefully everybody can get on this website. That's how to do it. Now let me go back to our syllabus. Oh, grading. Yeah, so I didn't really like being graded harshly when I was an undergraduate, so I try not to do that to you folks. This scheme that I've come up with, it seems to not only give you good feedback about how you've done, but also be fairly lenient, is as follows. Basically, we're going to have this point system without a curve, no curve whatsoever. You're going to earn points, and depending on the number of points that you have earned, you'll get a letter grade. The more points, the higher the grade. It's as simple as that. So, grades will be assigned on the basis of the total number of points. And the total possible is 250. In fact, we will have bonus points possible on the midterm and final exam that will raise that number above 250. Now, anybody who gets 225 points or more is going to get an A-, an A, or an A+. Anybody who gets 200 points or more will get a B minus, B or B plus. Anybody who gets 175 or more, that's C minus, C, C plus, etc. So do you see how that works? 250 available points, 225 above is an A, 200 above a B, 175 above. Now it is possible to get a D in this course. It is possible to get an F. Yikes. Let me point out something. Failing is a bad thing. Failing isn't an F. Well, F is failing. You can fail just by getting a C minus. You're not passing the course if you get a C minus. Okay, you need to get at least a C to pass the course. If you are a psych major or a psychology and social behavior major and you're trying to get through the major and you get a C minus, you're in trouble. I mean, that is not a passing grade according to those standards. You need to get at least a C. So if you're aiming for a C, it looks as though you've got to probably get like, well, 175 is usually like a C minus, so you've got to get like 180 points. Now, I'll talk about this again, so don't worry. Now, the assignment of grades on this distribution is based on points earned through exams. There's 100 points you can earn on the midterm. There's 125 points that you can earn on the final. And finally, you just get 25 points added to that. So the 25 points are added to each student's score so that the total possible is 250. There will be a midterm and a final. And again, here you go. 100 points for the midterm is 40% of the grade. The final is 125 points. That's 50% of your grade. And what that means is there's not a lot of testing in this course, and what testing there is counts a lot. So you really got to do well on the midterm and the final. That's what this boils down to. About 20% of the final exam will be cumulative. So if you come to the end of the course and you've forgotten what happened in the first half, you won't do as well as those folks who remember what happened in the first half. That's because the final exam is a cumulative one. What are the sort of questions you get? Well, exams include multiple choice questions. There are also essay questions. And finally, there are also picture labeling questions. So I'll like put up a picture of the eyeball and I'll put a little arrow and you're supposed to say what the arrow points to. Eyelashes. No, not eyelashes, but you know what I mean. It's a picture labeling kind of question. So you need to bring a photo ID so we know it's you who's taking your own exam. Also bring a Scantron, and the Scantron is used for your multiple choice question answers. Exams will only be given on the scheduled dates at the scheduled times. If you are sick, you've got to bring in the doctor's note. If you are an athlete on an away game, you've got to really document that. So I'm sensitive to people's needs, but you can't just say, oh, I couldn't make it. Then I'm not sensitive to that. And here comes the kicker. These exams are at 8 in the morning. The midterm is scheduled for Tuesday, February 4th at 8 a.m. Yikes. The final exam is scheduled for Tuesday, March 18th at 8 a.m. How many people are 100% functioning at 8 a.m.? Yeah, I would say 1 or 2%. So what do? Do you stay up all night? And you sort of like, wow, you're still awake when you finally come to the exam because you haven't gone to sleep yet? Is that a good idea? I would say that's one of the worst ideas ever. What you want to do is go to sleep early. Do the sleeping that you can. Sleeping, in some sense, is better than cramming the night before. Then you wake up early and drink coffee, come to class. That's the sort of thing you want to do. If you try to pull the all-nighter, you'll just be miserable. How many people have done these all-nighter cramming sessions for early exams? Are they fun? Oh, come on. They are not fun. Anyway, I can recommend against them. You want to get your studying done early rather than leaving it to the last minute and having horrible final exam weeks. It's possible to have horrible final exam weeks, but why do it to yourself? Okay. Extra credit points. It is possible to earn extra credit it turns out that the number of extra credit points offered in this course is 6, and that is not a very large number, as it turns out. Remember, your midterm is 100. Your final exam is 125. You get the extra 25 added on, and I can tell you right now there will be bonus questions on the midterm and on the final, both of which are worth more than these 6 extra credit points. However, I highly recommend that those of you who have yet to participate in a psychology experiment, please go ahead and do so, particularly you freshmen. It's important to get experience as a subject in a psychology experiment, because at some point in the future, you, in fact, may be the experimenter. And if you have not yet been a subject, you will not know what's going on. So, particularly you people, I recommend that you participate in experiments. And you effectively will sign up for these online at this Sona Systems website. And this will tell you where the experiment takes place, and you sign up for it. Well, you go to that place at the appointed time, and fine, you're a subject in an experiment. The people will note down that you have participated. You will get extra credit points, and by the end of the quarter, there will be this list of all the people who've earned those extra credit points. That will be sent to me, and we will add your points to the other points that you've earned in the course. So that's a fairly straightforward way to get some more points, highly recommended for people who have yet to be a subject in a psych experiment. So it's important to note that if you agree to participate in an experiment, you really need to attend. So if you are a no-show, you will be penalized. What do you need to do if you're unable to attend? You need to notify the experimenter that you're unable to attend. If you notify them, then that's fine. There's no longer a penalty. So it all makes sense. If you say you're coming to an appointment, keep the appointment. If you're unable to keep the appointment, tell the other person. It's that simple. It is sometimes the case that experiments are available in the beginning and the middle of the quarter, but less available at the end of the quarter. And the reason is people are doing other things at the end of the quarter. So if you try to jam in all of your extra credit experiment hours right at the 10th week of class, that strategy might not work because there might not be any experiments. So this is the sort of thing you want to do earlier in the quarter. Now, if you want to get those 6 extra credit points, but you're not psyched to be a subject, psyched, get it? Paper. As an alternative to taking part in experiments, you can earn up to 6 extra credit points by writing a 4-page double-spaced typewritten paper. And by typewritten, I mean not handwritten. It can be printed on some kind of printer, of course. Well, look, if it were me, I would probably be a subject in an experiment, because that's going to be easy. You just sit there and you do what the experimenter says, and boom, you're done. You get your points. If you are a real thinker and writer, on the other hand, I remember seeing, who is a person who's from humanities? Okay, you should be a writer. So you should write a 4-page paper because this is what you've got to be good at. Psychology people, less so. They've got to design experiments and analyze data and things like that. If I were in humanities, I would be concentrating on how to write, how to present ideas and things like that. So people for whom this is very important, definitely consider the paper thing. It's a good way to go. The only problem is sometimes when people write papers at the last minute, they tend to rely on information from existing sources in a way that's a little unseemly. I don't want to use the word plagiarism and directly copying from Wikipedia or anything like that, but don't do it. If you're going to write a paper, start early so you can actually write something that's good, that's your own, rather than just ripped off a Wikipedia page. Okay? Anyway, let me skip right down to here. Academic dishonesty is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Just don't do it. We will try to help people in this class not do it. In fact, the class on the whole is graded leniently enough that I hope there's not a lot of pressure on people to do this sort of thing. I really hope that's true. I guess it's probably unrealistic for me to say that, but just don't do it. TAs will have some office hours, but primarily you will be meeting them in their discussion sections. And we will be meeting right after class today to figure out what their discussion sections are. And I will give you that information on Thursday. So be patient while we figure that out. So the course website you have seen, we have a EEE website. The EEE website right now is sort of barren, very little information. You find the syllabus, fine. But in the future, what you will find are the lecture PowerPoints. If I remember to turn it on, the lecture Camtasia screen movies. And finally, we will find links to the professional videos of this course. So there will be a lot of very useful information, I think, on our website. Not necessarily yet, but in a week or two, things will get rolling and you'll see a lot of things come up. And of course, we hope you will enjoy the course. And you're probably wondering now what this course is on. I always leave that right to the end. How many people have taken a Psych 9 or a PSB 11 course already? Oh, almost all of you. So everybody took it in the fall, I guess? Yeah, so you probably know what the deal is. We're taking the Introduction to Psychology here at UC Irvine and teaching it over 3 quarters. And the 3 quarters are divided roughly into, Psych 9A, I think of it as cognitive neuroscience, sensation and perception, evolutionary psychology, research methods, things like that. And this tends to be the areas in psychology that rely a lot on math and science, perhaps more so than other areas. Then in Psych 9B, we have things like learning theory, cognition, memory, thinking, all sorts of fun stuff. And while there is a lot of reliance on science there, there's perhaps less so than what we have here. And when I say science, I mean other areas of science like chemistry or physics or biology. Finally, in Psych 9C, we have a very high-level view of human behavior that is less tied to specific sort of molecular level explanations of psychology, although that's not always true. Of course, there's all sorts of biomolecular knowledge now of how the brain works and how, say, drug imbalances in the brain can alter behavior. And you'll get some of that in Psych 9C. But on the whole, it is the most clinical, social, and developmentally oriented of the 3 courses. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of people who find this particular course hard. That's the bottom line. And I'm going to try to make it easy for you. And the way I do that is by trying to show you as many pictures as possible, trying to explain in the most intuitive way possible what is going on. So if you haven't learned about cell biology yet, at least you'll see lots of pictures and get the idea of what cells are doing. And we'll do our best. There'll be plenty of material for you to study, and I hope that works. Let's see. What are we doing this week? Well, this week is actually a very light week. Today, just getting through the administration, I consider that to be a very good thing. We'll be done shortly. Thursday, I will talk about some research I've done in recent years. The course, as far as stuff in the textbook goes, really starts next week when we'll look at research methods. We'll go through chapter 1. And the idea for next week then would be, well, this guy's going to be talking about research methods. I'm going to come to lecture at 8 o'clock in the morning. Of course I am. What would I do if I wanted to be prepared for lecture? Well, I would read chapter 1. So if the lecture is going to be on chapter 1, I read the darn thing beforehand. I mean, sometimes I talk quickly. Do I talk quickly from time to time? Well, I do. And you will be understanding the words that I am saying better if you've read them at some time in the recent past. read chapter 1 before I talk about chapter 1. You'll understand better what it is I'm saying. What about chapter 2? Ditto. That's going to be on Thursday. We're starting right up next week. Bam, bam, bam. Chapter 1, chapter 2. Third week, chapter 3. So we're really going to get moving once we get moving. And the way to stay abreast of the course is to keep up with the reading. It's that simple. So if you are interested in next Tuesday's lecture, you will be doing the reading of chapter 1 and chapter 2 for Thursday. For the third week, you need to read chapter 3. What about the midterm exam? Well, how do you study for an exam? According to my theory, in fact, you've read the book 3 times before you take that exam. One time I've just outlined. Before you go to a lecture, you read the chapter. So you will have read those chapters before the midterm exam. But I recommend 2 other readings in addition to those guys. One of them is this weekend. How many people are really, really busy this weekend? Some hands. But I would say 90% of people are not really, really busy this weekend. What do you do the first week of class? You read the textbook. How many people actually do something? Nah, he's laughing. I used to be that way, but now I know. But now I know that if you want to keep up with the material in a course, you've got to go over and over and over. And the way to do that is to start early. You won't read and understand the textbook all at once this weekend, but you can certainly read chapters 1 through 6 to sort of go, oh, that's an interesting picture. You can read the pictures, the figures, and read their little captions. You say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I want to learn more about this. It doesn't need to be a perfect reading, but you need to get at least sort of familiarized with what we're going to talk about. Then you go into some details with each lecture's reading, and then, wow, the weekend before this midterm exam, read chapters 1, 2, and 3 all over again in conjunction with the lecture materials and other stuff that you might find on the web. 3 passes, you'll do really well. Most people don't do 3 passes. I don't know why, but it's really pretty simple. It doesn't take a lot of time to read, or does it? How many people think reading something like this is just too much time? Well, it can be a lot of time. So if it is too much time, try not to read at all. Try to look at the pictures first pass and say, okay, I'm going to read all the pictures and all their captions. And that can be your first pass. Second pass, excuse me, once you're learning, that's me coughing, sorry about that. Okay, so once you're learning what the deal is, then you can go back and read, and your reading will be quicker because you know what it is you're reading about. By the third pass, you will want to be reading it because this is how you'll really get that knowledge in your head for the exam. Anyway, here's our exam. People ask, well, what does this mean? The midterm review is after the midterm. Well, we're going to go over the midterm after we've taken it. So we will look at every question on the midterm and figure out what the correct answer is and why. So it's one of those reviews. There will be a brief review on this Thursday saying what will be on the midterm. If you definitely want to attend one lecture, you want to attend that one there because you will learn what's on the midterm. If you want to attend a second lecture, you want to go there because then you'll learn what's on the final. In any event, the second half of the course is Chapter 4 in sensation, Chapter 5 in perception, and finally a little bit on consciousness. And if you look at your textbook, you'll see what this is all about, and I hope you'll find this material interesting. How many people are sort of naturally attracted to this sort of thing? I mean, how we hear things, how we see things, the nature of consciousness, how the brain works to support all of these mental operations. I find this stuff fascinating. The way it gets studied can be awfully scientific at times, and that can be tedious. But on the other hand, if you put the effort in, I think you'll be rewarded. So let me make one last comment, which is that the schedule is subject to change, and in the sense that sometimes I go on talking too long in one lecture, and then it sort of dribbles over to the next day or something like that. So it's not always the case that I start chapter 3 at the beginning of Tuesday. See, it might be in the middle of Tuesday or something like that. The timing is not perfect, but I'll try my best. So what I'd like to do now is thank you all for attending. I basically call a halt to this proceedings and then talk to our TAs.